Alright, I'm going to go on. That then Che Nienbi Chulia Nugusun Gunsun Ba Tushi Tunkin Dushi Juk Dimbiokon in Yangure Saja. Zandang on Zuki Deniki Pang on Zukia Sosuki Nyamne Gudola Jarji Yendu Kabla, that's some Danadi, Karazino Sosuki Gula, that Dungag Yabata Dungan Yuku. And Yoma to some Yevares, Digi down on the Chasankangate, the Yevares, the Denis Samata, the Nigi Samta with Hone, that the Nigi Dunga said, Dunga Yumo to some say, Tablam di, that Demba, San Yuchimnetic Pa, Chikilam, the Nangre, such Kingore, Nangres and Begeta, Ya, Chik, Disamdadua, the name, the Nigi, and it can be San Yigi, Tablam. Denship song be song ding on the Yamsu Lenguade, Yamsu Lembaladina, and on the Dunga de letter to Buddhist. Chisnada did Dunga Jagim, Yamsu Lembaladina Rangi Gula, that jig Quatienda Lamden said Gula Giadu, and then Checonjos, Radicula Giadu, then Mazuki Corby, Nansung Dunga Tayada, then the Tarbio Tobi to Corby Dunga Tartuya, on to Sungores be easy. Dejiada on dinner Zada and Dinigi Garsore Dangazuki Tunkin that to get to she get some data do some tangures and Dinigi that some died and Jelia and Dinigi that tablam Dunga say the Digi to be a tablam Demba to Demba San Yachim de Demba School Lama San Yokorongi Yamneji Yamyong Tone Dangazula Tutsi on getting a Nangore said Lamne Dembare Seve. And the Jig Sanjik Gusung Tusum and the Indian Jamba and Ranzulia Jil Lamdena, the Gijin Chemboimba, and Gijin Jesu Jamba to Samta, and the Nigga that Sanjiki Dunga da Diki Tala Yamlen Jimbati, that in it, Sosugi Yamlen Jeje and Jalama Lopin Je and Jil Gunim Nelia, Semdentam Jesang, Gemasaye Bado. Near to Bachi or Shores and be some Dachi Dushin, some Dachi Yangu, setting as Casada, Denigi, Gorshure, Chesa Denigi, Yamlan Samutane, Nyambaina, and Sosugi, Yarki to Grace, and Denigi, some Madawaji, Church in Yad, Sosuguda, Chenya, the Guni, Kakasha, said it by Yamlan Majabaina, and the Yaje, Trotu Maria, and Casanga to Susara.
We're in the chapter where we're looking at how to listen to the Dharma teachings. Previously, we looked at the three faults of a vessel that we need to identify within ourselves and abandon. And more recently, we've been looking at the 6 perceptions to cultivate, and those we concluded last night. The first of the 6 perceptions, which we saw, is absolutely crucial, it's foundational, which is to recognize oneself as being like a patient, to recognize that one's own mind is ill, in the sense that one's mind is afflicted, tormented continuously by afflictions. That's the first perception. And then independence on that. One seeks out a skilled medical practitioner, and we turn towards the Buddha, recognizing that he is the foremost of all medical practitioners. And then relying on this, on the teacher, on the Buddha, as being like a doctor, we receive his prescription, which will be his instructions or his teachings. This is then likened to the medicine. We recognize that this medicine has to be taken, and not taken in the way that we feel is best, but follow precisely the prescription of treatment that the skilled physician has laid out for us, knowing that in doing so, our health will return. So that's the third perception. The fourth then is that one needs to apply oneself vigorously to the prescription. One needs to apply oneself vigorously to the Dharma, relating it directly to our own mind. And by doing so repeatedly over a sustained period, then change will come. That's the fourth perception. The fifth then is the recognition of the Tathagata as being an exalted being. So this comes about, as these all do, independent on the cultivation of the prior perceptions. As the prior perceptions are cultivated within one, the latter ones readily arise. And so too then moving into the sixth perception, generating the wish for the Dharma to abide for a long time. Here one recognizes the tremendous qualities of the Buddha, which is what makes him a holy being. His qualities of body, speech, and mind, the qualities of kindness in that he strove for so many eons to cultivate virtue as a bodhisattva in order to become a Buddha, to help suffering beings, just like ourselves. So here, through having generated a deep appreciation for the Buddha, for his qualities and his endeavors from which we benefit, we've recognized him as a holy being. We also are experiencing the benefits of the Dharma. And thereby, we give rise to a sincere wish for the Dharma to abide for a long time in our worlds. And this then leads us to strive ever harder to cultivate the Dharma within our mind, because where the Dharma abides is in the mind of beings.
Dani chela chobar gyurus she anegasa she suda sei bui Geshe dawala che dönbi chir shubana and janju semba di samba che nyembi nudu gyurwa kene and che sumba darosa.
So then returning to the text on the handout, it's on the page, top of page 29. In the published book, it's on page 25, at the bottom of page 25. So this, now we come to a quotation from the Garland of Birth Stories, which is the sutra citation as a proof for what was presented by Lama Tsongkhapa above. Seeing the image of my bad behavior so clearly in the mirror of the Dharma, anguish strongly arises in me, and I turn towards the Dharma. Knowing this to be the thinking of a suitable vessel for hearing the Dharma, the Bodhisattva gave him teachings. So this is the same as yesterday, in that this is the citation for what was presented above.
And this rather dagi jobang ambisu chigi melon and saltona sid. Chisada juki samlo nalo ya anjigi and melolia Chinganzu Sungin Pa Melon Xiaodu, Anzu Dong Nalia, Sukna, Zula, Duna Karium, the Melon Shan Tong Duas, in Hashin, and Susuki Dagi Jebas, and Anzuki, Samlu Kerso, and the Samlong and Bad, the Nubi, Samba, and Sevi, Samba, Samlu Tigba, and Magic by the year, and the Karaha Resene, Chigi Melona, Tongres, the Ganzu Che, Tebig, Dundala, some down. Or that in 80 some down and taking me to Notre Dame or somebody. Or some of the dinner tango do a de, Dinigi, some Notre Dame, Meva Suela, some of the tango do a sebeda, Yamlenje, Guense down, and the chicken, to get some Yaget Diadi, and Chigi Trebala didn't have to do this, this one Chigi Melon Saltonas.
Just like we use a mirror to see the stains or the dirt on our face, we use the mirror of the Dharma to recognize the stains on our mind, the stains of the afflictions. So this, it relates to what we looked at last night, that the way one should receive teachings is as if they, with a clear perception that they are about ourselves, our own minds, not about that of others, but to relate to them as being teachings relating to our own mind, just like a mirror being held up in front of one's own face.
Tebe done la some night or that thing in no true chumadi and no tree but how go you do other did him do a denegi did not treat it bitch the nature when the answer dunga good tirade or things that the maba 디메바 소고도 선배기다 데니게 삼나단 랍게데 다니 쳐라 쳐버 유로세데 디 냠보 아니 람데 냠는 제알이야 아니 그 죽두스 냠는 제도 다 삼노디 최기 초소단 거래제 최기 쳐려야 남비게 디비 쳐봐 빵제 야제 셈데 최기 초소단 거래제 다니 쳐라 쳐버 유로스.
The second two lines. Anguish strongly arises in me and I turn toward the Dharma. So this is the impact that the Dharma teachings should have on oneself. Through hearing the teachings, holding them up to one's own mind, one comes to know oneself better, seeing clearly the faults on our mind. And from this, anguish will arise within oneself, regret for past non-virtue, recognition of the repeated or the habitual habits that we have that just keep creating causes for suffering for ourselves and bringing problems into the lives of others. One recognizes this. Then one turns one's mind towards the Dharma, which means recognizing our faulty behavior and its causes. We develop the determination to turn away from acting under the influence of the afflictions, and rather we commit to turning our mind towards the Dharma. In other words, ensuring our mind is on the side of virtue.
Denegi jike semje jike soju jale cewa jale be samlo jike dine chue ke lobjong maje bi kabla tang ju chung ile kabla jike semje suya da dine buru suya da dine ke kanga jale an jike denegi jike de semle de giuro jide be jike gala la ke chagudo wa yungoro wa da ne bene nganzuru chacha ne dine chung kabla nganzu jara de buru da dine mango suyo dine suya ya jike da chanas ka me de dine so giuro je gala la yungdo 지나다 되네게 지게 최기 돈을 로정 제제 대심제 소주진의 디버여 되는 시기와 말했어야 돼. 다두수 망보지 최퇴니 난 삼다위 제도 대대철 삼다위는다 심제 소주시에서야 돼. 윤이라 삼리고 말과 지나디 삼노디 직두신 최라 되는 하고네 다 셈디 최기 초소와 세디 개위 초소와 스페는 that chatamje ne yungo ma da kashi ga yungo wa on de ne za di na shi da ga ju gi chue gi thon lo jong che de ji ba da ma ri ba de ha ko de de ne ma ri ba de pon ya da de ji bi gi nyen bo nyam len de che yo de an sem gi chue cho so ha se de da don da ro xin de pe ro chi de ne ji gi cha gi do.
I'm sure this is something you all have some experience of. When you hear the teachings, you recognize faults in your own behavior, perhaps mostly from before one met the Dharma. Perhaps as a young child, as many do, he took pleasure in harming insects, maybe chasing birds, causing them distress. And as a young child, one can see this as enjoyable, as fun. But now as an adult where one has met the Dharma and come to understand one's own mind better and the results of one's behavior, one looks back at that with regret and commits to not engaging in such behavior again, certainly not explicit behavior like that, but not even related behavior. In other words, one looks at the role of the afflictions and in the coarser and the varied manifestations of them, and commits to turning away from behavior motivated by the afflictions, and rather places one's mind on virtue, places one's mind on the Dharma, recognizing that the appropriate behavior for a practitioner of the Dharma is the behavior in accordance with the teachings, the behavior of virtue, which comes from ways of thinking which are infused with the Dharma, ways of thinking which are virtuous.
Shesa Sudagi Bui said that the Negi Sudaka said it, that Michigi Mingli Dua. she Sudigi Bu Selraden. Sudiga said, Michi, Digi Bu, Sudigi Bu said, Michi Yabache, Digi, Sudigi Bu said, Teni Gabu said, Dawa said Elia, and Church Tundro Ches and Shuva Edge. Cheshu, Shuadu, the Nature Semba, D, and Jig Qualia, Chutin, a Pando Yoba, Kenje. 人是先别个第三把去年比女的就看把去但可能去学呢碰到有的看见呢去送我的时候的去真是先把第三比去年比女的就看见是的速度给不得了去电脑就送了我其实的可去年比个的对那程度先别个看见呢去送把的去送把的罗是
Lama Tsongkhapa continues, knowing this to be the thinking of a suitable vessel for hearing the Dharma, the Bodhisattva gave him teachings. So this refers to what we have just above the quotation. It is like in the garland of birth stories where the son of Sudasa asked Prince Chandra for Dharma teachings. So here the Bodhisattva Prince Chandra gave teachings to Sudasa, or the son of Sudasa, through recognizing that he was a suitable vessel for teachings.
The
final paragraph in the outline. In short, thinking, I shall attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. To attain that, I need to train in its causes. And as it is necessary to listen to the Dharma for that, I will listen to the Dharma. Generating bodhicitta, contemplating the benefits of listening, and listen with joy, eliminating the faults of a vessel.
Rangshen Tsama Dewa Debada Dunga Mideba Chigbare Chizan Rangshen Tsama Shen Simja Tamje Dewa the Dengo Dunga than Dragudo, the Simja Tamje Dunga than Dreading in Chigi, Denzangi, Simja Tamje Dandalea, Sanji Komato Tabidu, Sanji Komatoba Chigi, Sembige Sam Dango Reger, Dagi Simja Tamje Duna, Sanjo Komatoba Jawas Betambo, the Nige Sam da Simja Tamje Sanjo Komatoba Chigi Sebe Sam Dango Reger.
So here Lama Tsongkhapa is abbreviating all that we've seen thus far in this major outline on how to listen to the Dharma. Before engaging in the receiving teachings or reading a text, we need to generate bodhicitta, reflecting how, just like ourselves, all sentient beings want to abide in happiness. No one wants to experience any suffering at all, no problems, no difficulties. We all just want to abide in lasting happiness. Then generate the thought, how wonderful it would be if all beings could experience only happiness and completely freed of suffering and pain. And develop these minds of love and compassion ever stronger to the point where one determines, I take responsibility for ensuring that this comes about. It is my responsibility to ensure that each being is guided in a skillful way so they know the causes for happiness that must be cultivated and the causes for suffering that must be abandoned. I take this as my responsibility. But to actually fulfill this responsibility, I have to become a skilled guide. I have to transform my mind. And in this way, one generates bodhicitta, the determination to become a Buddha in order to guide all sentient beings to a state freed from suffering. So this is the foundational motivation to engage in the Dharma teachings, whether hearing or reading.
On the Nigida, Janju Sim Kunwaji, Kunwa the Tambo Janju Chin Bala Tambo, Kunwa Janju Sim Kiwudo at the Toba Sawacha. Dene Nibala and Garson, De Tobala, Di Gula Lapquez, Chidanta Sanji Goma Tobala, 상여고바 토바 지긴 셈베 삼로 지부기 상여고바 톱투야요 말에 지다다 상여고바 토바라 상여고바 토비기 유를 납고 그래서다 유 가라가라 예메 간에까지 냠는 지고 디바 장고 그래서 대장고 그래서 두신의 삼로 지고 당고 그래지로.
The first step then is to generate bodhicitta. Thereafter, one trains one's mind in the causes that will lead to enlightenment. Because bodhicitta comes with the determination of, I will become a Buddha for the sake of others. It's not just a mere, how nice it would be, but it is a determination. So therefore, one now sets about in training one's mind in the causes that lead to enlightenment.
Onda sangi dini zada sangi goban toye yu gar yeme kane kanza labgo yeme di ha go gore di ha go ne da nyamlen chebal sangi goban to go gore was jizan di ha go ala an gar go sen dela chue tyo ba go ba na yes jizan di ha go ala chue di tyo go do so lob jong ro chue tyo che ma lab kan ji zen tyo ne dene de sangi goban to ba la nyamlen dene che go ro du su re jang nyamlen je de su re nyamlen je dang rin ba dang bo de ni ba dene che go ro du xin ha go ya di 안 퇴고도 와서 마트나 대하고 퇴하면 대자 대라 최퇴바 거바 나외 지사다 최 연구에 비마시 이게 전부를 하시면 누신에 군원 삼로를 진지시 당고 거래지로 나외 이제 제일 셔러다 지사 최퇴고도 선비가 삼로를 리그래지래
Bodhicitta is initially generated, followed by the determination then to train one's mind in the causes that will lead to the attainment of one's objective, enlightenment. But to do so, and the text continues, it is necessary to listen to the Dharma. So again, we are in the context of the motivation one generates before a teaching. So here, one recognizes that I need to become a Buddha for the sake of others. One generates bodhicitta, and to become a Buddha, I have to train my mind. Now further, to be able to train one's mind, or in order to be able to train my mind, I need to understand in what I need to train my mind and how to do so. So one needs to come to understand the correct sequence of training, but also the details of each of the stages of training one's mind. So one's committed to training one's mind to become enlightened. Now, in order to know well how to train one's mind, one is going to receive this teaching.
안데니게다 퇴고바디 계침보 인자 대장의 truyền 념을 자고 대장의 truyền 념이 인스지다 truyền 슈인스네 데니게 념을 자고 선비게 념도 안데 자주게 셈게 세데 세데다 두신의 truyền 념을 자고 삼고래 truyền 념이 인스베 삼로 리그레제라.
This then cultivates with a commitment or with a determination. It's crucial that I listen or hear or study these teachings. So this is how one generates the motivation, the correct motivation to engage in the teachings.
나도나라 저게 고디보라 시베나 가젤레 나 산조고모 톱고도 산조고모 톱발라 톱야게 탑람 냠술 랭고도 아디자 니디 지기 냠술 랭고제 디간에 간에신 지지 라마젤레 지 퇴제 년제 안하고와 쟁이 냠술 랭이 선배게 삼다디로다 데네게 삼다지네 제자 최슈 오래서지.
So in brief, the stages here that we should generate before engaging with the Dharma in teachings or in reading is generate the determination to become enlightened for the sake of others. Followed, secondly, by the understanding that to become enlightened, I have to train my mind. This is the technique. That's the second point. Then the third. And in order to train my mind, I need to know excellently, I need to know clearly how to train my mind. And for that reason, I'm going to receive the teachings.
단 지난 지소 글롭조다 지과라와 베네다 저게 천리바 개바지 제고 인선바나 삼다에도 천리직 당보 천리직 개바지 제고도 선배게 삼다야다 아니 가지고 멤버 개바지 안지 제고 선배 삼다에도 지난 멤버 개바지 제고도 선배 삼다 멤버 개바지 발라 맹기 롭종 가르가르 제고고래 세 롭종 제해 삼 되거와 제상 롭종 제해디 제고고 신고고에서 롭종의 신고고가 간다간다창 신고 대신 봐라 되네 랍르기엔 잘래 장고서 랍르토고로와 랍르토고디 제지 기엔잖아 랍르기엔 잘래 파 진지 되는 파 연디게 봐 제시 잡시 되는 예 니 년비기 년집에 된다디 파 삼당 타마라 소수기 멤버 개바차야 되는 차도로 베디나시르와 당원주의네 대대대마 상기기 동아시아는 디기주의 탑람 땡샤바디 지상 상기고바 상기고 톱후도 선배 삼다이도 상기도 탑람 가라가라 요래 디장고고래 디장발라 딜랍칸직 겐치살 신전 디전에 파퇴제나는 년고고 장고고래 해서지 다 삼다다 지부지가로 어디서다
This is really the same process for education in the general world, education that one engages in by choice. One first makes the decision that one wants to become skilled in a particular area. Let's say one wants to study medicine. So one has the determination, I want to become skilled in medicine. Thereafter, to do so, I need to study. I need to gather knowledge, the second step. And then the third is now that one is at university, one engages in the prescribed teachings so as to gather the knowledge in order to become a skilled doctor. So too for ourselves. We first generate the determination to become enlightened, to attain a state freed of suffering, freed of all the limitations of an ordinary samsaric being, so that we can be of greatest benefit to other suffering beings. First stage. And then the second, to do so, one has to train one's mind. It's not through changing external circumstances that one becomes enlightened, it's through training one's mind. But to do so, now the third step, one has to have a deep and broad education. So for that reason, I'm going to receive these teachings.
디닝이 버자원님들은 장주 셈게 세대 장주 셈게 대시 공로의 셈제 탐지 상요고 토바지 인습의 셈게 되네 퇴비 편연 전발 제대 시도제자 다 최퇴비 년비 편연 디파 선당은 주 계신님만이야 최퇴비 편연 먹고셔와 되네게다 최퇴비 편연 가서는 편연 삼당 오래 진짜 최퇴바 있나 퇴비게 퇴연도 된다 하고 그래 된다 하고는 될라된 야야긴 그래서 냠슬이야 고고 프레고레스 진짜 마퇴바 있나 안에 지게 된다 하고 말 된다 하면은 냠슬이나 신말 최퇴비 편연 나 퇴비게 퇴바이나 소수게 마신비게 몽부의 문버세의 전면하신리에서다 안지게 두신의 삼다 최퇴비 편연전 바르지 근데 저신와 제네 세대다 배가랑아 진데니게 배 지금 데니게 냠는 지알 배 야고를 고갑래 데니게 야고슈 데네라도 고갑래 선비게 배서 가랑아 제네 아니 너기 괜숨 빠네 냥고리에서 너기 괜숨 방와서 제된 너희 교수님 방와다 튀 속나라 된 튀기 주시 죽세 템바데 어두신 된지는 년고래 해서다 만도 탐이 넘데 디레도와
The outline concludes with generate bodhicitta, contemplate the benefits of listening, and listen with joy, eliminating the faults of the vessel. So as mentioned earlier, before engaging in the teachings, one generates bodhicitta, and thereafter one reflects on the benefits of listening, which we covered earlier. They're at the beginning of this chapter, so in the printed book and the published book on page 19. So there, all the many benefits of listening were covered. So here, one recalls those to mind, and from that, a joy will arise in one's mind, a joy at this opportunity where now these teachings are going to be received, and all these benefits, from the benefits of listening that one has just called to mind, these I know I will attain through engaging in this teaching. But I need to engage in this teaching well, therefore I need to abandon the three faults of a vessel. So one first again generates bodhicitta, reflects on the benefits of this opportunity. That leads to the arisal of joy. And through joy coming from reflecting on the benefits and on the basis of bodhicitta, with such an attitude, very easily, the three faults of a vessel are abandoned.
다 되네 자당 저 그신 최 퇴의 계침물에서 퇴비 판연시 근데 퇴비게 판연된데 요래서는 마퇴비게 마퇴바이나 안지게 균가 용된데 시요래서리 마시 되나 퇴비 판연된데 시요나 퇴바라 퇴비가 퇴바지비가 라이나 삼로간에 땅고를 라면도 단내기 견som 방아제 엔투게 두시 죽된베도네 년고리에서 당한 저기 다디 녀디 지당아 저기 직 롭정 지당 그 롭정 셰발라 지당 균 가서래 디데 방고라 뇌기 균 카보바다 뇌티 샵도와 세디 고르바다 가르지나 직 저기 롭생 가르자베네 뇌 카보바이나 셴메르와 샵도바네 메르와 이제 디고고르데 이네다 잔다데게데 고야스가요 말와 당한 저기 다디 가르서서 디나는 가 저기 다디 추고 시에도 맞아 삼로 교왔다야게 삼로디 균유초 삼로의 가제 연딩게죠 개유초 삼로 따야데 삼로의 교왔다야 토네 송교바자 제자디 삼단하데 두스당고 그래 디네 따바는 개유초도 좋도 그래서도 제자 삼로 뇌유 균선바 튀게 두시 죽된배 삼단하데 대지 가사다 디쇼가 슈바나신 튀게 삼단다 두스네 삼당고 그래서 디네게 최슈고 그래서 디네 지기 슈베 갑레네 디네 슈고라마도 디네 최디 파 퇴디 파 수수 퇴 진던다지 소수 규토로 맞아봐네 셈베 규왔다 두고 말해서 개위셔 두고 말해서 강 퇴바데 소수기 삼로 규리 파 자르세네 누스네 제 퇴고래서 디니 퇴바이나 안에 소수기 셈베 규와도래서지 그래서 안데네기 직도 뒤나가 저게 가서 다디 주바데 또 나닝보데 된데 차기도
As mentioned in the conclusion, in the summary, the summary goes right back to the beginning of this chapter by referring to the benefits of hearing the teachings and the faults of not hearing or listening or studying. So calling those to mind then, that leads to an enthusiasm, and the enthusiasm then aids the easy abandonment of the three faults, or three faults of a vessel. And these three faults, those of being like an upturned vessel, a filthy vessel, or a cracked vessel, these need to be abandoned in any form of education, in that whatever one is hearing, one needs to be able to retain it, receive it, and retain it. But the six perceptions, these are more specific to our situation here in the Dharma. And the purpose of this outline of this chapter thus far is to aid our strength of mind, our determination to engage well with the Dharma, with the teachings. Because to the extent that we are suitable vessels, open and receptive, we'll be able to rapidly transform our mind. If our mind is deeply distracted, or if it's closed, or if it's very afflicted, we will struggle to gain much benefit. But if we abandon these three faults of the vessel, that illustration of relating to the Dharma as like a mirror, as showing the faults of our own mind, we'll easily be able to accomplish. But if those faults are still there, we're much more likely to miss the meaning of the teachings. We're much more likely to receive them in a way that we think they relate to people other than ourselves. So therefore, there is, as always, a sequence of training, how the one in dependence on the prior, the latter comes about. Therefore, all of these we need to cultivate within us, because it brings us to the point where we receive teachings with an enthusiasm and an open mind. And this then will enable the teachings to penetrate and make it much more easy for us to apply them to our minds, keep them foremost in our mind continuously. And this way, we'll be able to change our mind. Without doing so, without cultivating the points presented here, it will be difficult to receive the Dharma in a suitable fashion that will enable one's mind to transform. So that then, in brief, is what we've looked at in this section of the chapter, how to listen to the Dharma.
난 최년바 퇴배 판여다 년비기 추디파 쉬자래 다 가르쳐 순거스네 다마 최셰배나 안에 가르쳐고래 삼마가르스 땅고래 제디 다 최셰타디마 셰배값소 삼마다다 안 최셰다 루수진 셰고래 세디마 딘마 디순거다.
The first of the two parts of this chapter has now been presented, which is how to listen to the teachings. Now we come to the second, how to explain the Dharma.
최시비 파연 삼바 니발의 시선이 사진 니발이도와 최시비 파연 삼바 뎨바던 쳬라 림르게바 삼바던 조와 지다비 셰바 유강라 셰바다 미시비 캬바로스.
How to explain the Dharma? This has 4 points. Contemplating the benefits of explaining the Dharma, generating respect for the teacher and the Dharma, the proper attitude and behavior with which to explain the Dharma, and differentiating those to whom the explanations should be given.
아니 디 랑질리 디 치르 네 강다 취 로버 쳇바당 셈녀모 바젠다 녜바당 꿀디다 자화 뒤에베기 쳇바디다니 다니규 수남 쳔보 냠버 제바이노스.
The outline starts, the outline contemplating the benefits of explaining the Dharma starts with the quotation from Vasubandhu's Treasury of Abhidhamma. Giving Dharma, free of mental afflictions, teach according to sutras and other true texts. And then in his own commentary to his root text, therefore, those who explain the Dharma incorrectly and with an afflicted mind that desires material gain, respect and fame, corrupt their own great merit.
난 루미 인연지 가르송고라스네 마 최시비 값수 최진 요모 제민비에서 최진시의 마 최된밤 최셰바 소속이 셰바 마 셰바 최진. 단 요모제 말에서 요모제 미시의 셈군ung 요모 베군의 라제네 어느 지게 최시교 말해지리다.
Giving Dharma, in the first line, giving Dharma, so this will refer to the giving of the Dharma, the practice of generosity, so teaching the Dharma, one should do so free of mental afflictions.
지난 요모쟁기 군이랑 요말에서도 요모제 가래서도 다 요모쟁들이야 안지게 소소히 담년자요야 인구로요야 안스 소소게 깨라 첨부 차야기 내니게 군노 삼노 계제 최된바이나 디디고 말에서 제산디 셈 요모 군노 삼노디 요모제레스 제산 소소라 담년자 인구로요야 안 소소게 깨라 차야 되는 생년 첨부요야 군노 되니시 캐베네 디 군노도 요모제레스 제산 군노 되네 계제 현래야 최시교 말에지리다 직당보디 된다디리 요 최진 요모제 민비에서
Free of mental afflictions. This particularly refers to the type of mental afflictions that may well arise when one is given the Dharma. For example, wanting to receive respect from others as a Dharma teacher, wanting to have a great reputation, perhaps even famous. So being free of mental afflictions refers to those class of mental afflictions.
나디 슈라 가려서는 군노들란 최신나 군노 간스 키고래라요 제산 현리에 편바다 제외 삼바스 지게 현샘 현기 농아세야다 디규주의 삼바 현리 편배 삼비 돈에 근데 지게 송고고래지래 군노들이 계시는 송고고래지.
Rather, the motivation one should have is of a wish to benefit, teaching what is suitable to others, what will bring them benefit, in other words, help them attain happiness.
도서 양다 지신 tuyển 세대 다 도서 양다 지신 tuyển 세대 도당 디 공제 된주 나르마 간이 셰바나 냠레 림바데 마노와다 마추바 땡고레 마도 도나 셰바다 땡주나 셰바데 그 소수고 고렘 투는 셰바데 디나데 시고 마송바다 소수기 파직 쇠진 파 송나 시나 지고 마레스 제사 도서 양다 지신 tuyển 세대 도당 디 공제 된주 라소 파나리아 직 마노와 마추바 양다바 간에 셰바나 신치네 마시 오레지레.
So in the first line, it refers to having a motivation which is focused on the recipient of the teachings, not on one's own benefits. Then the second line, teach according to sutras and other true texts. Here, one should teach whatever one knows well, but make sure that one teaches in a manner that is complete and unmistaken, so that one doesn't present something out of context and therefore misunderstanding comes, or not in the correct sequence, therefore leading to misunderstanding. So therefore, one needs to teach what one knows well, because then one will be able to teach in a manner that is complete and unmistaken.
제다 디 랑제 레스르다 디니게 직시 디게 제와로베 인연 코로 랑게 제와지 샤바서 랑제 세데 코로 랑게 제와지바 제와데 다데 직시 도와 디 직시 디게 제와디 미샤나 제와게 요르수요 다데데 다데 로베 코로 랑게 제와지 샤게다 랑제레 디나레 가르송요르스네 디치르 간다 출력벌 쳇바당 쳇벌 쳇바시디 제사 도소 양다 지신된 세디게 제사 최 마노와 띵고리 에세디 제가 로바 신나 지고 말했어요. 디치레 강다 취 로바를 잡아를 잡아. 세데 쉐리 노트시네 마 땡주에다 도나 송샤바 딜레 고도 로소 노트시시나 지고 말 로바를 잡아. 세데 도나 도서 양다 지신된 세디. 야고시 지고리 로바 되네 지고 말했어요.
Then in Vasubandhu's auto-commentary referring to it's a commentary he composed himself to his own root text. And it starts with, therefore, those who explain the Dharma incorrectly. So that would be referring to those who explain the Dharma in a way that is mistaken or incomplete.
제사다 대시 네 간소리 취진 요모 제민비에서 지티게 된다 송거래 취진 요모 제민비에서 지티게 된다 가서 송거라스네 셈 요모바 젠당 요모바 젠 냐바스도 소소레 냐바다 꾸르디라야당 안에 작바 되베 소소 첸냐다 깨다 침보야 니 된다라 셰바이나 작바 되베 체베 데네 셰바나 데다 니기 소놈 다니게 소놈 침보 냐바 셰바이노 세데 소소게 디바사게 소놈 냠도고레 소레 제산 소소게 디바사고레 디 소소게 개와사에게 녀모 개와 공부를 줘야 잡래 소소게 개와 마 냠도고레 세 데네 시교 말해지다.
The first line that was quoted, giving Dharma free of mental afflictions. What is meant in this context by mental afflictions is now specified in the auto-commentary. Therefore, those who explain the Dharma incorrectly and with an afflicted mind that desires material gain, respect, and fame. So these are the class of afflictions that it is essential that a teacher is free of. Ideally, one should be free of all afflictions, but it's essential to be free of afflictions that desire material gain, respect, and fame, because otherwise one will corrupt one's own great merit.
마스 군론들의 최시의 군론들이 시켜고래서 안디 시켜고래서 나는 군론들이 기내 최시에 갑래이네야 안지게 너트다 안지게 멤버들의 임바래 세대 임바질래야 돼 말해 세대 되게 로바체데 지금으로 더다 땡전나 강송바 거름 마초 마노와지 따다의 셰화의 기침불에 디셰고래 송고걸 디시 단단히 뭐디래 내게 마셔봐이나 너네 너트지 셰바는 소도 디버치 못하기로 하지래 제 굴롱 엠바 녀바다 자바다 수주 담녀를 굴롱디니 켜베네 되네 수수 굴롱디니 켜바자 디 녀모베 삼르래 제자 디바사기리 녀모바 디 아니 가소래 근데 지진 취얘기 나는 두고래 제래
The motivation one should generate when giving teachings is certainly it should be free of wanting to gain something for oneself, such as reputation or material gain. Rather, one should have a motivation of wanting to benefit those with whom one is directly teaching and also indirectly through them to benefit ever more beings. One should have an attitude towards those one is engaging with, one is teaching, of holding them dear, as valuing them, as caring for them. So this is the motivation with which one should bestow teachings. And then moreover, with regard to the Dharma that is taught, this needs to be done in a manner that is unmistaken. One should ensure that one does not make errors in one's presentation. So therefore, one should teach within the confines of what one has come to know well. This is another important point. Because if one does not, either has a faulty motivation, or if one teaches, presents a mistaken version of the Dharma, one will at the very least accrue less virtue, but one is likely to accumulate non-virtue. And then in brief, in terms of the motivation, one should guard one's mind against the 8 worldly concerns. Lama Tsongkhapa then continues, therefore, a pure motivation to teach the Dharma is extremely important.
소수기 최대비 갑라 군노들이야 샹라 되데스 군노 삼다나디 샹려 제와다 아니 지게 팬백에 제와다 잼비 삼다제 아니 지 어두치네 군노드네스 캐다 다들 랑라 삼다베는 셈제 탐지게 되는 산요고방 토그라쇼 산요고방 투비 치도 아니 지게 콘절야 시제네 판도 주기인 셈비 삼다 제자다 덴디게 군노 삼당 오레스 디니기다 나 계시모 다델야 안 삼다야길야 덴디게 삼다 델야 지게 삼다의 동반이 걸 군노 동반이 삼다야다 제네 지게 덴디게 삼다 당제 도시인데 소수기 지게 뉴발라 바베 도시인데 삼나가제 야체 당tum나 야요로와 장주심제 탐지교도는 산요고바 토바쇼 장주심지 군에랑 대양 셰바데 안에 다신 제베 차나 안 랑응외는 줍제바제 가야메야 선배게 삼다 도시네 송고고래 제대 내내게 군노송 투바이나 저 군노디게래 제자데 저 군노라 라리고로데 군노디 야고 마중바다 담냐다 차당 진짜 차당 원도 최대디 판도 야고 용말에서 그래.
So it's clear from the quotations above that one should ensure that one's motivation is free from afflictions that desire material gain, respect, and fame, and so forth. What one should intentionally cultivate in accordance with one's capacity is at the very least a sincere wish to be of benefit to one's audience. And ideally, but this is only in dependence on one's own prior training, is that one should see one's teaching as an expression of one's motivation to lead all beings to a state liberated from the sufferings of samsara. So to have such a motivation, one needs to generate, prior to the teaching and maintain during the teaching, a motivation of bodhicitta as being presented, as well as, in accordance with one's capacity, a reflection on emptiness, understanding that nothing exists in the way that it appears to my mind. Phenomena are all empty of existing by way of their own nature. So with with regard to whatever understanding one has of emptiness as well as bodhicitta. These two should ideally be one's motivation, generated prior and sustained during the teaching.
양사 나로 공부해서 코니 미탁밥 튼지 응원도 마곰바라 최시 만용 송바 따라 어느 응원도 굴롱 쳐봐 내 채워서
Continues, and in accordance with Ngargompa, who said, I have never explained the Dharma without meditating upon impermanence before the session, it is crucial to review your motivation beforehand.
ane karasung korasina korongi ane chue shebe kapla nyele ya chue mashi nyele ya mitaba kumguyos mitaba samdang kuyo dine ane chue shebe yos mado mitaba samlo madang nyele ya kunlo mitaba sam madang aje chue gine she ma yong hong so dine sungdu ho sere.
Ngargompa then, before every teaching, he reflected well on impermanence. In fact, he says he never gave a teaching without prior reflection on impermanence.
Dine kunlong di ngondo kunlong cheba ne chewo se de jesa de nye liya chue ma shi nye liya ani so su gi kunlong sam be kunlong di pa jue gwa de be gi chim bo re se de be gi chim bo re song.
As we hear in so many contexts in the Buddha Dharma, and certainly when giving teachings, prior to engaging in an action, generate the appropriate motivation.
Dinegi. The tree shaving of the Kun, the Midaba, some dana did Midaba. She said Midaba, some dana Kares, Karu Muras in the Jaza, Che Machinelia, and the Midaba, some dode. 다 라신 참아 아니 미타바 끼지끼지 지도에 좋아 제산 지도고래 딱과 띵보여 말에 세베 삼단여도 삼단이 제사다 소수게 되다 난주게 티치 미타바에 끼지기 딱과 띵보 매반자 다 되네게 소수게 다데 탕보 예비 갑라 아니야 현리에 펴버 줘야다 현지 동화세야다 되네게 어찌게 냠nen지야 소수이네 안 되니게 안 되게 타바다 탐지기 고마 토야기 취지 냠내 지역의 계침벌에 새벽에 누치는 두 삼단데 시가 되다 미다바 삼단다 되니게 두신 거로와.
So why is impermanence specifically mentioned here? Why was that quotation selected? When cultivating the understanding of impermanence includes recollecting that oneself as the person who's about to teach, as well as those to whom one will teach to, change momentarily. Moreover, this opportunity that one has now to present the unmistaken teachings to these students, this opportunity too is impermanent. Therefore, this opportunity needs to be utilized well. And therefore, I need to generate as pure a motivation as possible. So here one can reflect on bodhicitta and emptiness in order to utilize this situation, this opportunity, as well as I can.
And then
the text continues, exhortation to the extraordinary attitude sets forth two groups of 20 benefits of giving the gift of Dharma without desire for material things and without concern for gain, respect, and the like.
Yingurda, Chapata, and Denige Sola, Matawa, some Matawa, Tavigi, something maybe get something Yambaraga, some diag, Tinematawache, and Gunotelia, and Jig, 显判吧的这个上吧，俺讲究什么的过年垃圾去给金巴是去买些金巴当然那去给金巴说了，经常就金巴了，三星的金巴的去给金巴说了，我的那个去给金巴怕都现在去啊，我写完呢，俺那朋友的嘞。你去参加你有的，你去参加你有的时候，在西区谈不有的时候，朋友西区谈不送有的时候，你去我参加你有你中啊似的，你去你中，其实的那个朋友的那个长高了嘛说呢，你去不去西区谈不送有的也是，你搞我送有的，拉什么古语跟拉什么古语都是的那嘛送有的也是，拉什么古话的送拉是。
He had references a text, exhortation to the extraordinary attitude, which presents two groups of 20 benefits, of 40 benefits of teaching the Dharma. So teaching the Dharma is an expression of the generosity of giving the Dharma. So therefore one should have a suitable motivation as one is giving the most exalted of gifts. And such a motivation should be of, at the very least, a sincere wish to benefit those before one, and certainly should be freed of, at the very least, any wish for material gain, respect, and fame. So that's really the baseline, the minimum motivation to have when giving the Dharma.
Rabdu Chunwi Chu Tsiksu Jepa Jikzam Jimba Sunam Labara Sungso Osan.
The text continues. Also, the questions of householder Ugra Sutra says that the merit of a householder giving immeasurable material things is exceeded by that of an ordained person giving a single verse of Dharma.
Bendigo Yuanji, Shanlia, Jimba, Sansing, Jimba, and the Chisa, Gueda, Mienda, Deniki Baudo, Meba, Jimba, that's when I'm sure Sago, down there, Shangi, Dunga Seata, Digi, Jacomi, Dunga Sea, Kabi, Dunga Sea, Nena Seagi, seeing the pain bottom of Sago, Wajere, Kimbe, Sansing, bottom, Meba, Jimbe, Sudada, Denigi. Sansing Jimba Seata, Gueda, Menda, Denigi, Shan Lojonje, Shin Europacia, Denigi Ropaci, Jim, paying bottom of Sago Regere.
A comparison is made between, on the one hand, a wealthy person who can therefore practice immense material generosity, perhaps fulfilling a being's varying material needs, paying for essential medical treatment, paying for education, and so forth. So such a person, such a generous person, will undoubtedly accumulate vast stores of merit.
Rani Sudan bought me about Sesagore, Shan, Pambashi Chagoro, Garasane, Dunga Shangi, Denigi, Teocomi, Dunga, Chabe, Dunga, Denti, Gangati, Seyodu, Honzole, Shanley, Pamba, Yahoo, so in Nadi, Shanley, Pamba, and the D. Pembig, so Sudan bought me about Sagore, says Dirwa.
Such acts of generosity leads to great benefit for oneself, of course, because of the merit one accumulates, but also one eases the suffering of others. So therefore it's a particularly effective form of generosity in that one directly eases the suffering of others.
Rabjung Digelia, Denegi, then Jenlia Robache, Tungin Rojiki, Yungo Marwa Mede, and Rabdu Chumbi, Shenlia, and Church Sixujevachik Shevena, that should get Chimbo Shanada. Bene Shetumne Yawarwat, Gesi Shema the Sixujeva Shevene, that Sixujeva said that one to give Turum Son Yaguata, and Denigi Yamnache, Rimbachi, Denis Sobaina, Deshi Kimbi, Sansing, Jimba Bottom about Cheba Jeda, Rabjungu, Sixujebachi Somba Nidi, then Koni Payan de Garip Panche, Yore, Payan Gache, Yores, and Rabjungu, Sixujeba Shevadi, and the Pandun Chewa Yore, Ezere, Sixujeba. Jikzam Jimba, that gave Mongushan that delay Pandoche. She Sixujeva Jikzam Mongushema, the Jikzam Shevana, the son of the Bemasi Pandoche, Laboratory.
By comparing such excellent generosity to the generosity of an ordained person who is unable to practice such material generosity because they don't have such abundance of material wealth, but yet is able to teach even a single verse of the Dharma, perhaps on ethics, the ordained person will create even more merit from such an act. And that's just a single verse. If they were to give a more expansive teaching, then it's very clear that the amount of merit that is accumulated is truly vast.
And is Sunam Cheviki Gumzero Karalamna, that's Zanzingi Jimba Jiroba Kazi Chevina, Tedizamki, Tedidi Dunga said that Digi Juya Zamato, Java Chimalia, and Kasa Delia, and the Shapanto to go Mar Pingo Marwa. That Jiggy Zanzing Jimba member, the church Jeba, Bene, and Jamni Jokomiada, Janjusem Gomia, and the Surim Sunya Roji, Denigi, Ma Tembaina. Digida, Jamni Jokomiada, and Janjusem Gomia, some died mal, Lobsang Dorje, Digi Tedile, and Digi Mase, and the Jiggy Jawa Chima, the Jig Densa, Densa Mungo Toya, and the Delena, and the Tarbada Tamjiki Lam, Gom Tuyaki, and the Jiggy Gusagio Baza, and the Dana, and the Sanjio Goma to be Gusa to go, Sagoro, in the and the Sun Chavale, Saji.
So why is so much more merit gained from just even a brief teaching of the Dharma as compared to extensive acts of material generosity? So this isn't to deprecate the acts or generosity of giving material goods. This is required, and it's good to do where one can or in accordance with one's capacity. But the benefit that comes through material generosity or giving material aid is that it directly benefits solely this life. The direct limit is to this life. But if one teaches the Dharma, perhaps whether it's on ethical restraint or love and compassion or on bodhicitta, teaching it skillfully to others, this enables them to abandon causes that would otherwise lead to suffering in this and future lives, and leads them to accumulate causes that will lead to happiness in this and future lives. And in particular, through teaching the Dharma, one is guiding beings in how to accumulate causes that will lead to a good rebirth, that will also lead to the progression towards attainment of liberation and enlightenment. This comes from teaching the Dharma. Material aid on its own, whilst necessary, whilst important to do, cannot provide these benefits that will be experienced for lifetimes.
Andiyan Chötün Bigi, that Chötün Be Payan Samba said, Jizan Chötün Baina, that Chötün Baina Payan Carriores, Jizan Chedelia, and the Chicken, Chötün Bigi, that Chötün Sidu, Tablam, Samlot Nata, Yamling, Badinity, Shore, Machine, Jizan Chedelia, and Jiggy Susugi, Bene. Nyomon be Rikshanle, Cevis, Samatiki Pa, Gajene, and the Jiggy, Shanlia, Cewameba, Jamba, and Civis, Samlot Pa, Jang, and the Denigi Midelia, and Jig Cedelina, and the Digi Juyada, and the Kawachima, Digi Juyu, Gusai, Sagore, Chesada, Nyomon be Sambat Pa, Gadu, Cedelina, Nyomon, the Ganga Chesa, Nyomon be Wanga Ganga Jigger, Chesan Nyomon, Ma Chun Dai, Ganga Nua. And the Maobene, Ganga, Masava, and Dineza, and Pay Denigi. Denigi, do some Dadu Chan, the Dinig, quite Yaya to do, and the chicken, Dele and the chicken, Yamenji, Rimbas, Scarsore, Simshul Mason, Simshul Church change that, and then Nubala, competition, Tarbata, Tamjikim, Govatoya, Tanyang and Jugores, Chesa Dineza, that Shelia, Denigi, Pandoruna, Shengi Dunga said to get you to the Bay, Yahua, said the next year did that, the new Cobra, the Bemas, Yahoo, Sambida, the Payan, and the Shanlet in the Payan, Rala some time in the Rangi, the Niggy Shanley, Pando Judo, and the Soso in there, and Jingy, the Shanley, Pando Jubis and Big Soso Lotioya, and the Soso in there, Shanley, Pando Jubi, Kawa Bottom Basaya, Sosugi, Nyama Jan Shaggy to Shinia, kon ma sondu kablia and susu gombo shuk cher chenje nuba ya gombe de ya da andu sine rang le de pen chenbo xian le de pen chenbo ji zan chue xie de be ma si de ni ge pen chenbo le de wa san be ge da du sine sam da wa ne chue xie be pen yuen dian dian ba se.
This outline is contemplating the benefits of explaining the Dharma. And as we saw in this final paragraph, there are extensive benefits, 2 sets of 20. And these benefits are experienced by both the teacher of the Dharma as well as the recipient of the Dharma. So it's clear that extensive merit is generated by someone who teaches the Dharma, in particular if they do so with a motivation that is freed from desires for material gain, respect and fame, and with a motivation of sincerely wanting to benefit others, in particular if they're generated and sustain a motivation of bodhicitta and wisdom understanding emptiness. So in this way, extensive merit is accumulated that will benefit one in this and in future lives, as well as for the recipients who receive these teachings. Moreover, one knows that one's own suffering, as well as the suffering of every being, those before one, those throughout the universe, all ordinary beings, their suffering comes about because of their afflictions. So through teaching the Dharma, one is sharing the antidote to suffering and pain. So this will reduce the suffering for those who receive one's teachings, but it also deepens the act of teaching deepens one's own integration and thereby reduces the strength of one's own afflictions. Moreover, it leads to a strength of mind from one's own side in being able to share the knowledge that one has gained after extensive effort over a sustained period. One is now able to share that and recognize the benefit that potentially comes to those before one, because one, through one's own training, has come to recognize the Dharma as a jewel, and thereby recognizes this priceless gift that one is giving to others. So this then serves to strengthen one's own motivation through bringing joy and enthusiasm to one's mind. This serves to deepen one's own virtuous minds and strengthen one's resolve to further one's own both education and integration, so that one can teach ever more, an ever broader expanse of topics. So this comes about through the act of giving and the joy that this brings within oneself, because one knows the value of what one is imparting. This has a deep and profound and virtuous impact on one's own mind, serving to encourage one to strive in further study and reflection. And moreover, when opportunities come to share one's knowledge, to share one's experience, such opportunities will be embraced, again, because one understands the tremendous benefits that come from sharing the Dharma.
Dine zada dine ki chö shibi ki pen samda yu pen di yaku tong yu den chö shiya ki dunye ki dunba ine dunba shuk che zhoya da. Jiji chö shiba la ya da dunye ki dunba shuk che chö shiba la ya da shiba di diji nyel shiba na shibi ka su shiya di liya kunlo da yaku kye gore siya da. Andi ji mano wa ma chuba jine 고름 약보지네 안지게 도다 땡준의 송바 나치 시고래 세지 성요도 지사디 소수게 시행을 시발에 다 소수게 로병 제고야다 예침부 차고로 와지사 제삼 제시엘이야 마노와지 마추와 시고도 되는 소소리야 디 장고야다 안지게 신고야 차고연자 되니게 다 최시에게 되니 최시비 편연디게 약보 통요도 안 최시에게 되니 된바기야 and Dumbaki did Shebe Gasuda, Kunwaya would Kehoyada, the Negi and Shebala Korimatupa Shehudu, and Delia, Sosugi, a Chiki Jangdorta, Tessa, Jang Jehoyarochi, and Yechimuchagorwa, Chesa Denizada, Deni Jandorcia, that didn't see Sosuli Pingorwa, that's Chesa, Denigi, dine kewa sosora kewa sagora jinda dine zadi duschini sungore jeje gore sa sonya dirido.
Through oneself, having engaged in extensive listening as presented in the first part of this chapter, and reflection, and thereby experiencing the profound benefits of the Dharma, one will come to truly value the Dharma because one now is experiencing the benefits of it. Then add to that one's understanding through what is being presented here in this outline of the incomparable benefits of sharing the Dharma, of teaching the Dharma. This will lead to the wish to teach grow within oneself. And moreover, with this interdependent relationship of hearing, reflecting, and meditating, and then wanting to teach, one will be coming, through holding the mirror of the Dharma up well to one's mind, one will come to understand one's own mind very well. And thereby, one will be able to recognize more easily and eradicate more easily faults such as desire for material gain, respect, and fame, and thereby having a purer motivation to give. Moreover, through one's extensive prior training, one's motivation will be one of bodhicitta and an understanding of emptiness, and thereby one will be able to give the genuine Dharma with a genuine motivation. And this will have a profound impact on oneself and, of course, on the recipients of the teachings.
최시비 패연 삼당여도 지자다 데네게 루시네 패용물에 삼당어디게 침벌에서 데네 자다 최 셰바데레야 군노데 야부고레마도 안지게 에 년고다 안에 냐자다 데네 삼당교 말에서 제수게 침벌에서 송어도 제사당은 저기 담년자 소소께라 용하다 군노리야 지게 소수게 담년자 야고야다 안 소소리야 년고를 야고야게 군노 데네지 케지 셰바이나 안에 그 이제 dinyo kuno goro nyomo ba ko chagoro ane digele chene digi kuno de chele pembe samba me banza ane garshorasne kansamjilya so chike 고걸 다야로다 주인시에데 냥아치볼 리그로와 가서는 수수기 깨라 침보 차고원자 인고 야고래 깨라 침보 차고원자 수수기 직 매나 유도도 신마신나 신유도도 전에 되네 이 고로지기 똑바로 유도도라지 시에는 깨라 저거로와 지난 군론대에서 되네 딘도가 매발라 유도도 지도 가서래 깨라 저거도 주인시에게 냥아요로 지다 되네 그 고걸 다야다 데네게 데네 따바이나 안에 라할레 디부 첨보사야다 현리야 고걸 태제 건조이네 직강아 디바사주야 데네게 냐가 첨보 용거로자 제가 최된비 군노디 뱀마스 계침부이 세대 제름제 다디 롱다 쿵망부 장제 순고에디 계침부 제데 디르와
So within the outline of presenting the teachings, explaining the Dharma, what is of paramount importance is one's motivation. As the very minimum, one should have a motivation free of desire for material gain, respect, and fame. And ideally, one should have some accomplishments in the Dharma, and thereby one has one's other afflictions under some level of control. But if one hasn't even developed freedom from the desires for material gain, respect, and fame, the danger that follows from this is that wanting to be respected, wanting to be seen as knowledgeable, one is very likely to deceive others, pretending to know something that one does not, guessing at answers but presenting them as if you are certain. So here, by deceiving others, you, of course, harm your own merit because your merit now, your motivation is tainted. But even more importantly, you're causing harm to the recipients of your teachings because they now are developing a mistaken understanding of the Dharma. And this can cause them long-term obstacles. So therefore, it's imperative when one teaches that one's motivation is as pure as possible, so as from one's own self-interest to enhance the merit one accumulates, but most importantly, to only benefit those who are the recipients of your teachings.
Shanda Suji Mashing by Jing Shingu, Shanda Suji Jematu, but the Niji 2 years, some Sandra Jin, to go get a child or Dina Sugo, Wada, Jeza, Denigi, and Dina Shiro Wadanzuki, Kumo delia, Sosu Damianda Chaya, some Lord Stanche, Machu Shevena, Dine, Ogo Hortayada, Jike, Gio the Jibaru Shine, Sheragi. Geracha to Marwa, the Chalia, the Mixi, Kawash, huge Yobash, Yodotojan, Shehorua, Tishe, Dene, Sosu Gonolia, that Zunshia, Kohota, Charugore, she's in Diva Chimbo Sagore, and then she go hot tipche and Diva Chimbo, Gangamo, which I to go child, Deneza, the Gono Cheshe, Gachimo, Subsubchure, said, she's a Duchin the Sumudua.
And this is something that we do see in society. So it's important for you to look for such a motivation in yourself, in general circumstances. Because it's very easy to talk with confidence about things which you're not experts in. It's very easy to want to win an argument about something that you care about, and therefore to over-represent one's knowledge, presenting one's knowledge to a degree, with a degree of certainty that is beyond one's actual understanding. So we need to be aware of this likelihood and guard ourselves from this. And in this way, we train our mind now in everyday society already for when later we come to teach.
That is that Lamrim Nalia, Chue de Be, Masi Chimbore, said Tebe Payan Shuji Song. Then that Tuba the Chimbores, Yina that Tebe Gablaya, and Tugan Yan Chu Yembe Gabla, Kuno, some Kanistan, or some died the Chimbores, tis not Chu Yembe Gabla, the Nigi Tuba the Chimbore, the Sosugi Guli Judge and Yamling Tone Tuba Majavena, and Tubi some you are Pando to Grumares, Jesant. Tube Sosuke Yamlin Jaja, Dus Yamlin Jin and Dus Tores, Jazan Yamlin Jatadia, and Dushe some of the knit and Tangore, said Dus Somare. Tana Chu Tube Geshimure, Tube Kalama, Chu Shedi Geshimura, the Tube Geshimura, Shedi Geshimura, Shegamena, and the Tubadi Young Tumara, Jizan Chu Sonia de Geshimure, Jizan Sonia de Geshimata, Sumbi, Payandig, Yabo some da, Dine, some died, Dan Sungo Gores. There's soon be a couple of Kuno de Massication Mashures, Jeza, Kunong, Dam Yanda, Yangur, Denigi, Chaubi, Shawan, Soba Ina, and Rashan Nigala Gangate, Yonchimbora, Diamares, Jezana, some of the Garsene, Shehelia, Pembe Sawada, Zewe Samba, and the Jig, Pansimi, Jam Niji Gune long, and it's the same Jatam Jig, San Yoko to be sure, Janju Simbu Gune long, Kovalu Trivig, Tarba, Tarbigi, Torba to Kunong Tone, and Dushin Gunelache, and some worries. The Nisumba in Arashi Nigalaya, and the Yanking Tone, Yanking one, and the Twin Dushi, Druk Tianji Pass, this you are watching here, and the Sungani one, Pajo Delia, Jamba and Zawa, and the Janju Simu Gunela, the Sumba in and the same as Jig Rashi Nigalaya, Gawachimbo Sayada, and the same Jua, Droyada, Yamlin Combe to Droyadi, and the Pingores, Jezada, Yangi Wone, Tuba Gachimbo, Tuba Gachimbo, Tugging on Gachimbo, some of the Denisi Yangore. That Tuba Gachimbo, she soon had the Gachimbo, soon to Gablea, and trade my Shabe Gablea, Gunota, the nigger some of the Denis she Gores, she's a Denishabana, Rashi Nigala Pandoyungures. The name my Shavaja Pajo Yang Twinging to she took danger, Yamba in a shaking when you could know the Yamba Cage, Damianda Chada on Sotavana, and Pandoya was young to my said. 다야 진시 순간지마 직 군노야고 잠니제 삼르트 군에 나지 파송바이네 냥강원에 튕겨 주시도 마템바제 도시난직 줌년 바소르지 딩년바이나 안데 판도야고 또 말레스 제가 나주게 야게 좋아들라 찍찍레 띠네 띠띠게 남자 찍찍레 띠네 고서 냥강원에 야보시고 순간원에 야보지 니니가 야보지 튕바이나 야게 좋고레스 직 야고에나 직 야고면은 니가 야고면은 다 균해줘야 메로와 직 야고요 직 야고면은 니네 야고 용도고요 말레스 제가 니네기 다 최순야다 녀야다 예침보다 순간래야 되네 고고레스 녀가래야 되네 고고레스 제름 지게 도시는 거 차살이야 제 남들 롭데 도스는 거로 하다 냠는 제단들
We've concluded looking at the section on how to listen to the teachings, and we now are progressing through the section on how to explain the Dharma. So here, I want to draw your attention to Lama Tsongkhapa's skillful way of presenting this, because we're right at the outset of the Lamrim. But already, we see here that Lama Tsongkhapa is presenting the final chapters on emptiness and dependent arising, right here. So I want to draw your attention to the interdependent relationship between the student and the teacher, the recipient of the teachings and the propounder of the teachings. So first we heard about the many benefits of listening, and here has been referenced the many benefits of teaching. So that's a similarity, and if one reads those benefits, we'll see there's a clear similarity between them too. But moreover, in both of these two major outlines in the chapter, what is emphasized as of primary importance is motivation. The motivation of the recipient of the teachings and the motivation of the teacher. So for the recipient, as we heard, should ideally be generating a motivation of bodhicitta, of wanting to hear teachings so as to either actually generate bodhicitta or to further strengthen, to develop their bodhicitta. So therefore, the recipient of the teachings wants to hear teachings so as to cultivate their own good qualities. So not merely to hear, listen or study, but to also integrate through reflecting the teachings within them. Similarly, the teacher should be wanting to bestow their teachings, to give the gift of Dharma, based on their own extensive knowledge and integration of that knowledge. So just like the student needs to gain an education and integrate that education, so too the teacher needs an education and to have integrated that education. So there is this, again, interdependent relationship between the two, where one progresses independence on the oneself develops, and thereby can benefit others ever more. So the motivation of the teacher, at the very least, should be free of coarse afflictions. If the student had such coarse afflictions too, they're not going to fulfill even the three requisites of a suitable vessel. Moreover, the teacher should ideally have a motivation of bodhicitta and their understanding of emptiness, and ideally so too should the student. And with such motivations, they would be receiving and giving the teachings in order to integrate them ever more in themselves, in order to be of ever more benefit to others. So here, what I'm hoping is coming across is this deep interdependent relationship between this deep independent relationship and these close similarities in the process of how to be a suitable recipient of teachings and how to be a suitable teacher, and how the two work well together. If there are no students, there can be no teacher. If there is no teacher, there can be no students. If there isn't someone who wants to hear, there won't be someone who can explain. And if someone if those only want to hear but not integrate, they will never be able to develop into teachers themselves, because they will never be able to be freed of these basic afflictions. So therefore, these two, the student and the student's qualities, and the teacher and the teacher's qualities, share a deep, entwined, interdependent relationship.
Tenpa Niki Ten Shenpa So Tsepa Tar Chö Ne Sanje Ki Kiyang Gurvi Ki Xing Yinpe Chö Dang Tenpe Ki Yunden Da Getin Tente Guba Kebar Chaos.
Moving then to the second of the four outlines, generating respect for the teacher and the Dharma. When proclaiming the mother of the Buddhas, the teacher himself arranged the seat and so on. Accordingly, since the Dharma is a field of veneration even for Buddhas, one should bring to mind the excellent qualities and kindness of the Dharma and its teacher and generate respect for them.
ane mason yelia ane temba san yu horongi ba den timba da de nege to chene an chi zang mo sya la so ba de den nan go re chi temba ni gi den xian ba so zai ba da ra se ka se ne chue de sun ye chue de be sa qin bo de ye qin bo xiu xin za ne san ye rang ge do chene ni ma son yelia do chen nan go na wa des di na xian da de ne yin za da san ye rang ge de ne chue de za qin ji ji go ne da ngang zo le de yin de yi wa de ne yin za 제가 따라서 된 Atisha. 야, юм선에 산 유송. 송 도디게로 도디게서 귀다 도송에 지어와 이 юм시 어디 юм세.
When proclaiming the mother of the Buddhas refers to a collection of a class of teachings, of sutras. When proclaiming the mother of the Buddhas, the teacher or the Buddha himself arranged the seat and so on. So this is important to notice, because the Buddha, the founder teacher, he is the founder teacher of the Buddha Dharma. So when he was going to teach the Dharma himself, give his own teachings, out of reverence for the teaching that he was about to give himself, he arranged his own seat and so forth. So this was an act he did this to set an example for ourselves, that reverence needs to be shown for the Dharma.
최내 상기 기양 구리 신이래 지단선 최세야디 상기 랑기 기양 구십제사대 되는게 저 레디어를 해야지 최내 상기 구리 신인베스 지단 최세야디 상기 랑기랑 구십제대 지파 구거체세 신이래 유래해서.
Accordingly, so to just make more literal, the Dharma is a field of veneration even for the Buddhas. So this is what we saw in the first sentence, which is that Buddha Shakyamuni showed veneration even to his own teaching, which he was about to give. So accordingly, the Dharma is a field of veneration even for Buddhas.
베지가리아 산지 구샤초 말아 구간에 베샤나 디그레사 저러와 어디 사제 동바로 되서 샤사 말아베네 되는 베지가도 구디바 샤브잖아 디샤 추고 말레스 아니 가르스네 구던 송이의 송자체 지고 데디 다디디시오라 제산 상계 랑게야 최딜의 자침을 송딜 자침을 지고 그랬어요. 제산다 구글시에야 구바시에게 차고로 봐 제산 되는자 간주 대대 구조 샤세면은 구강을 구지 대제 뒤 구디강을 상예 송디게 샤스는 지고를 디샤 추고레스 되네 송강을 구샤쇼 말에서 디소 좀전에 디네 차고레.
From what is said here, you can see why we would not put a statue on top of a Dharma text. Because the statue represents the Buddhas, and the Dharma text represents the Dharma teachings. And here we see that the Buddhas, that they show veneration to the Dharma. So the Dharma is seen as foremost. So on one shrine, ideally, the Dharma text should be arranged higher than the Buddha image. But if that's not possible and one's next to the other, that is fine. But what should not happen is that the statue should be placed above, or on top of the Dharma text. And again, because, as we see here, the Buddhas themselves show reverence for the Dharma.
ane dunba sanyi chue songwa, dunba sanyi yu yunden jen, ane kusong je yunden jen, deni ki ane yunden jen bige delia, ane jik deba kiya dang, ane de ngana zuli ya sanyi chue song, chue de ngana zuli nyamlen je, uyeba di penma se kejin chenpo re, sin deba dang kejin dus chene jen gogo re, jen je, ane ya jiga yang ngana zuli chue dang, ane jiga guru xin ya 강할 구gur che je guxia che chebo pu du xie ge yu jie gu go le sa ji song go da gu ba ji ba cha wo.
Accordingly, since the Dharma is a field of veneration even for Buddhas, one should bring to mind the excellent qualities and kindness of the Dharma and its teacher and generate respect for them. So here, as we've heard previously, one generates or recalls the qualities of the Buddha's body, speech and mind, the qualities of the Dharma. We recall the great kindness of the Buddha in having trained so long in order to benefit beings like ourselves. And thereby, through generating faith, we recognize how truly fortunate we are.
최 상이 성배 최디배 맞아 야보래 당아들이야 최디게 가르송어서 아주 동아세야 난 디기주베게 탑람 송고래 제가 송디게 송고로 제네 제상아주게 탑람 된 당아주게 강아세게 탑람 빼야고래 선배게 되니게 다 되니게 상지 송야 돼야 상지게 송바래 상지 송돼야 상지게 아주려 투제 원게 송고래 제가 상지 그런 게 냠만 냠술래 냠는제 안 냠용 줄게 데니게 나서를 투지요 거 송고를 뺀마세 그지 제가서 뺀마세 야고를 SMP 연대 데니 여바디 최다 상계를 연대 데니 여바세 되게 데니게 대바게 상계다 상계게 된 안술에 제요 거 송, 나주게 최디는 냠는 제 고합을 뺀마세 야고 사케진 첨부시이나 SMP게 되게진 지수 제제 두시는 안주게 삼로 된바다 최리야 게진 대바다 게진 지수 제 데네잖아 소수게 최슈야되나 안주비 갑레이나 소수게다 이게 데네게 튕기 두시 죽된벽관에 슈 안마 송바이네 소수 송바이나야 산예다 된비 게진 지수 빼야고래다 라신이가리아 동아세 디기 주베 타벨람디 산예 송바디 연대 덴디슈여바 송바된 안줄이야 안 게진 첨보를 게진 지수 템베 토네 안다디 소수의 냠내 지하다 셴레이네 판바다 제요 원기 안지가 셴 안지 동아세 디기 주베 군로 삼다디네 기하다 안심제 탐이 산요고 바 토바쇼즈베 군로 전시심이 군에 나제 안마 최시하다 안지 도시하다 계침보래 사제 송거당 아주게 다딩 아주게 나즈 랍jal마 소나 아주 냠슬랭고 아디디레 최시비 된비게 최다 된비게 게진 지소데 대바게 데네게 최년비 값소이네 군로들이야 안지sem자 탐지게 되나 산요고바 토바쇼 디엔자 산요고바 되게 냠내제 신고를 신고고자 이 취디 년기 선배의 삼단이야다 다 중앙주 시행게네 다 되네게 뭐 최다 연람이 그 된비 연대된 다 디는 건 사산 남다게 되네 시알이야 팬바다 아니지 팬이 되게 주야래야 시기 선배 팬바지 와쇼 선배게 심지어 담지 산요고바 토바쇼 디엔장에 마 시알이야 시에 판도 주기 선배게 삼로 디네체네 당국으로 에세다 저게 이 가사나 디링이디 럽센디기 당한주 삼도스 진행하서 삼도스 당국으로 디네 다베는 소수게 삼도의 계획 철파 야야야 조제네 안에 지 균이 삼도디기 봐 용용 주고래 에세지 나는 먼저 삼다나 디리 디네 시고래 에세다 나 디리도
Why is it that we are so fortunate? What is the basis to look at the Buddhas and the Dharma and think of how fortunate we are? So here we call to mind that it is only through the Dharma that one can come to learn about our suffering and why we are suffering in this way and what we can do about that freedom is possible. So it's only through having met the Buddha and the Dharma that we can come to understand the complete and unmistaken path that we can cultivate in the way that we are guided to progress towards attaining complete liberation from all forms of suffering in samsara, liberation from suffering in its entirety. So when one recognizes this, it's very clear just how fortunate we are. So this recognition is, as explained earlier, clearly important for the students, because with such a recognition one will want to come to the teachings and one will listen attentively, and the three faults will readily be overcome. But it's also important for the one giving the teaching, because through valuing the teachings that they are giving, they will be sure to present it in a manner that is complete and unmistaken. So that in this way, the teaching will also be given with a motivation of wanting to bring benefit to the students before the teacher, and do so in a manner or inspired by the way they themselves have been guided by their own teachers and other Buddhas. So thinking like this, valuing the Dharma, valuing the Buddhas, this serves to enhance our motivation, whether we're looking from the perspective of study or hearing teachings, or reflecting and meditating on them, or whether it's from the perspective of giving teachings. This appreciation and recognition of the value of the Dharma. Moreover, this will also aid our cultivation of the suitable motivation, a motivation that's free of ordinary worldly concerns, but rather a motivation that is based on a genuine concern for the welfare of others. Whether one is receiving a teaching or giving a teaching, engaging in the Dharma with a motivation to transform one's own mind. So again, like the mirror being held up, wanting to transform one's own mind in order to be of ever more benefit to others. This is the motivation to both give and receive teachings, the wish to be of benefit, of real, lasting benefit to others. So to the extent that we cultivate this understanding, we are cultivating virtuous minds and therefore purifying non-virtue. Moreover, it serves to aid our effort, our desire to engage in further receiving of teachings or giving of teachings. So therefore, this understanding serves many benefits and should be cultivated again and again, ever enhancing the value that we place on the Buddha and his teachings. So thank you. Then we can conclude there for this morning, and then this afternoon we'll continue with the proper attitude and behavior with which to explain the Dharma. There's still time before lunch, so if there are questions, then please feel free to ask. Tsepel?
I just wonder which particular teaching it was that Buddha wanted to actually only seek for. I thought it could be prajnaparamita, but then I thought it could also be great compassion.
So which, where we see Mother of the Buddhas, does this refer to perhaps a Perfection of Wisdom Sutras or Great Compassion? Yeah?
제 산지 유송을 민 계유 윰라고 그래. 계유 윰 산지 유송 윰랍네 딩염소 렘발레 때네 산지 고바 토두자 윰레세. 산지 유송 차사 계유 윰세라. 산지 되게.
It actually refers to all the teachings of the Buddha. All the teachings of the Buddha are called the mother of the conquerors, in that it's through these teachings that through the Dharma that Buddhahood is attained or Buddhas are born. So it refers to all the teachings of the Buddha.
So did that mean that Buddha always arranged his own seat? Because I think sometimes in the sutras it's sort of a sangha set up a seat because of in this teaching.
다바데 유마르와다 카프릴레테 두슨 고 가실레 산예기 되네 제고래 셈비기 추유되네 경험솔레데 제고래 산예 제도다 람메 제도 아주 제고래 셈비 연구로와 지나잇 가브마데 게디나 최 송자 담제데 되네 제 유마르와.
Not on every occasion, but on some occasions. So just like, for example, in our own teaching events, then students want to prepare it for the teacher. So too would the Buddha's attendant have generally prepared for him, but there were times when he did so himself to set this example and make this point to his students.
So this mother of the Buddha, that's not a specific text.
No, Nagana said it refers to the Buddha's teachings in general. Yes, because from the mother, the Dharma, the Buddhas are born, or the conquerors are born.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.